Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I've got my coffee. I don't have any hair, as you can tell. Mohawk of my dreams. If you watched my last video, you knew this was coming, and it's the year of change. And so I wanted to talk to you guys today about all of the change, all of the advice that I would give to all of these lovely questions and points that I've put down. And I don't know, I just don't feel that there's enough of this on the internet, and I want to be a little bit more resourceful for people, especially because my professional business page gets a lot of questions from other estheticians and just members of the beauty community. So here we are. I'm gonna have some coffee, and we'll try to make this quick and as simple as possible. And I am not editing this. If my dog tries to bark, she's right there on the couch. If she tries to bark, we're just gonna pretend it didn't happen, because I do not want to edit this video, because I do not like editing videos. Okay, before we get started today, if you don't already know me, I'm Jenna Alvarez. I am the founder of What the Fluff Lash and Brow here in Los Angeles. I am a lash artist and a brow stylist. So this has been quite the wild ride, and as a disclaimer, based on my personal experience, the legal counsel that I have sought personally here in the state of California, I feel that this is the best way for me to convey my advice. This is not in any way me trying to give legal advice per se, because I am not a legal professional. I am not a lawyer. I am just going based off of, like I said, a personal point of view, advice, legal counsel that I sought out based on my situations and my questions here in the state of California. Depending on where you live, this is all possibly going to look very different for you, but most of what I'm discussing today does pertain to advice that I give for estheticians and beauty professionals here in the state of California. And there's a bug in my house. Okay, let's get started. So I've got notes. Getting into it. Couple of things. People are realizing a lot about their life, what they hate, what they love, what they're uncertain about, somewhere in the gray area. And especially in the beauty industry, with all of the uncertainty, there are people who have had to close their businesses permanently. There are people who have been laid off and have been unable to find work. There are estheticians who were in school during this and then still haven't taken their exam. There are estheticians who finished school right before this, but their exam date was canceled and postponed. They still aren't licensed 10 months later. Things of that nature. It's a lot to take in. First things first, in regards to beauty professionals who are waiting to take their test, I can only imagine how discouraging that is. And when I finished school, I had graduated in August of 2017. And I tested for state board in October of 2017. September. So it was the very beginning of September that I graduated in 2017, and I tested for state board the very end of October. So I had basically a full 2 months to study, which can feel like, in that moment under normal circumstances, can feel like a lot of time, because you're like, I'm fresh out of school, the knowledge is fresh, let me take the test. But on top of that, like, the more time you have to study, I feel the more confident you will be when you take your test. You don't want to feel like you're like cramming the knowledge in. You don't want to just be like regurgitating it. You want to know it and understand it. So if you are a student currently, if you were a student and you graduated, and this is the mess that you found yourself in just by, just now entering the beauty industry, my advice to you is take it slow. I know it's like the shittiest piece of advice probably that you don't want to hear, but the best thing you can do for yourself right now is take it slow and take advantage of the time that you have at your fingertips. Take continuing education courses. There are so many companies and brands that have done live, free seminars and courses on Instagram and on their websites. There is the ASCP, Associated, oh crap, I forget what it's called. I'll leave it down below. I can never remember. ASCP is what it stands for, and I can't remember what the actual name is supposed to say. Anywho, that's where you can get really good liability insurance when you're in the beauty industry, and when you have an account with them, they have amazing free information, free resources. So those are good things to explore. Expanding your knowledge and playing around with things that like might be a good niche for you. Take an eyelash extension course, practice brow waxing, practice body waxing with soft wax, hard wax, and take a sugaring class if you want to kind of figure out what medium is the best for you. These are all really, really good things to invest your time in. And I get it. Right now, money is tight for a lot of people, but your education and like having the power of knowledge and skill will never go away. It never loses value. So the best thing that you can do right now, and my best advice to you right now, is continue to be diligent about being a sponge and absorbing the information, not regurgitating it. And really playing around with the niche specialties that you're interested in as a professional. So when you enter the industry, maybe you will have a more clear-cut idea of, hey, I am now licensed, and these are like the two things that I want to focus on, whether that's facials and brows, whether that's body waxing and I don't know, facials, I don't know. I can't think, but you catch my drift, right? Now is a good time to do all of that. So that is my advice to you as a new beauty professional. There are a lot of people who are realizing that they are unhappy with their work life, whether that is they're unhappy being in the beauty industry, which that is okay. People get burnt out and need to take a break, or sometimes people just get burnt out and they try something else and never come back to it. That is okay. Realize that this pivotal moment in our lives where we have the opportunity to like almost have a forced way of stepping back and assessing what we do and don't love about our lives. Trust me when I say this is a good thing. Trust me when I say it is okay to acknowledge these emotions, these feelings about what it is that you're doing and wanting to change things up. Like, that's totally okay. If you've been in the industry 20 years and you love your clients, but it just doesn't serve you anymore, that is okay. If you want to specialize in something new, that is okay. If you are unhappy with where you're, like, if you're unhappy with your work-life balance because you commute, because of the city that you live in, because like your family and friends are far away because you moved to a place where you thought was the only place you could make money successfully in this industry, it is okay to now realize that that is not true. I guess that's not really advice. It's really like an opinion, I suppose. But where you work geographically, right? If you live in one city and you commute an hour each way to get to work, it might really affect your work-life balance. It might affect the way that you can enjoy your personal life. It might affect the way that you're able to delegate other things that need to be done outside of work, whether you are a small business owner, whether you work for somebody else. It can affect a lot of things. So even if you aren't unhappy with being in the industry and like wondering if it's time to leave and try something else, maybe you just need to relocate, which can be scary because in light of such uncertain times, it's not an ideal situation. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, when really is the perfect ideal situation for most big life changes? If you want to move to Ohio and live with your family, maybe you've got family and friends there. If you want to go to a different town, like, I don't know, wherever it is that you feel is like the place you want to be, where you want to put your roots down, build your livelihood there. And even if you can't uproot your life right now to do that, my advice is ask yourself realistically, based on what that looks like for you, what are the steps that you can take to make this a short-term or long-term goal, so that you can move in that direction. Because if you know that's what's going to make you happy, whether you want to work for somebody different, whether you're already working for somebody and you want to work for yourself, whether you want to hire employees and kind of like scale back from being like actively like hands-on with clients, geographically just going somewhere else that's maybe more affordable, closer to your friends or family, any of those things, it is the best time to do it. And as somebody who doesn't live close to where she works, I commute about like 40 minutes one way to work, to my studio. Just by me, even though my friends and family do live farther away from where I live and work, I am so much happier with where I relocated my business. And I don't mean for that to sound mean, but it is just, it's true. There's never a right time to do that. You might be in a similar situation where you feel, hey, I like where I'm at, but I know that this is not what's going to make me happy long-term. And I know what will make me happy long-term. How can I go in that direction? I had that in the back of my mind for the last year. I was in a communal salon space where I was renting, doing like a bed rental situation, but because I'm a small business owner, I am my own entity. I did have that freedom to kind of assess, okay, for the future of my business and how I want to care for my clients, the experience I want for my clients, and just like what I know will make me happy as a creative beauty professional. What does that look like? And then it sucks that a pandemic had to happen for me to really like look that situation in the eye and take steps in that direction, but it did, and it wasn't ideal, and it was stressful, but now things are settled, and I could not be more content. I could not be happier about the decision. So my advice after that long-winded explanation is assess everything and then create the steps to move forward to go in that direction, whatever conclusion you come to. Because if it's going to make you happy, why are you going to deny yourself of that longer than you, or like more than you already have? Does that make sense? Now we're getting into like the good stuff. Beauty professionals are learning that state board does not advocate for us, and beauty professionals are learning that state legislature for our industry is pushed by a lot of lobbyists who don't necessarily know anything about our industry. Now, I'm very much speaking about the state of California and the state board here. I believe that most state boards in other states do operate in similar fashions, but of course it depends on where you live. Here, what we have learned is the state board is designed to advocate for the consumer. But this is also a board that we have to like answer to and pay annual fees to in order to hold our licenses. And it has been a rude awakening for a lot of us, myself included, to find that they don't necessarily come to bat for us, especially now when we need it the most. So when it comes to understanding how this industry works, my best advice to you is to really open up your eyes and really investigate what that looks like based on where you live and what power you have as a beauty professional in this industry to do something about it. I always say arm yourself with knowledge. I tell my clients this, I tell other beauty professionals this, arm yourself with knowledge. The worst thing that you can do is take things at face value and not ask questions. A lot of beauty professionals in the state of California, myself being one of them, have taken a lot of extra time to understand that, in our case, state board is essentially funded by the state of California, and the governor elects officials to run that board. So that doesn't mean that the board has people on it that actually understand our industry. And when it comes to trying to remedy that problem, obviously there is not going to be a one-stop fix for this. But as a professional, and by not being involved, like, you're doing yourself more harm than good in the long term. The best thing that you can do to take a step in the right direction for that is understanding who represents you. If there are lobbyists that have taken it upon themselves to represent your industry where you live and kind of speak for your industry without having any knowledge of what your industry entails and the niche practices, the niche specialties underneath each license, like, you want somebody that knows what they're talking about if they're going to speak for you or represent you in any way. You do not want somebody that is going to bat for you, but they're really just going to bat for them because they're a lobbyist who has their own special interests that are affected, who isn't actually trying to support or protect the industry in which you work. So I think it's very important to pinpoint those key people that play very big key roles. And I think it's very important to figure out, based on where you live, when it comes time to vote, or ways to push for reform when it comes to maybe privatizing your state board. A lot of beauty professionals have spoken about trying to figure out a way to organize a way to, I don't know how else to say this other than like basically kick out like state board, and have legit educated professionals, not just government officials, that are all very much on the same page, well-versed in our industry so that we can be better represented. Like, it sucks if you have people kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or people that have barely like dipped a toe into what everything entails, because then they're making decisions about things that they just don't understand. So my advice is do your research, figure out who represents you, and ask yourself, like, am I cool with this? Am I happy with how this has been going? Am I happy with how this is going currently? And then spread the word, really. Invite other fellow beauty professionals, especially those in your same city, state, to do the same. Because like I said, knowledge is power. What's the next one? Oh, this is a fun one then to talk about all the time on my professional Instagram page. Beauty professionals are realizing that their employers misclassify them as W-2 1099 or 1099, thus creating issues with their ability to file unemployment. So there's a short answer for this and a long answer for this. The short answer is W-2 and 1099 are two completely different things. If you are classified as W-2, what is in my eye? If you are classified as a W-2 on your tax forms from an employer, then you are an employee. You are a legitimate employee. They pay payroll tax. They have to pay into your Social Security. You get your overtime pay, all of those things. You get employee benefits, and your employer is responsible for giving you those benefits and treating you as such. But also in the same regard, when you're an employee, everything is taken care of. What is in my eye? My goodness. Your employer is responsible for providing everything necessary for you to do your job. They take care of everything. You come in, you clock in, you do the work, and then you clock out and you go home. When you're 1099, it is a completely different story. Either you are completely working on your own in your own space, or you are renting a booth or station or bed or room from another business. And your only relationship with that business as commission, at least in the state of California, is it's a business transaction. I am paying you rent and you are recording that I'm giving you income to pay the rent. That is it. If you're being 1099'd, that person that otherwise would be deemed as an employer is not really your employer. They do not have any say in how you conduct business, because you are meant to be your own separate entity. If you live in the state of California, it is very, very important that you look into the AB 5 bill. And there's another bill that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. AB something else, 485 maybe. I'll put it down below, both of the links for both of these bills. There are clear-cut laws that came into play that affect the beauty industry, especially in the state of California, that write this out for you. And when in doubt, seek legal counsel. You can get on LegalZoom and book a 30-minute consultation with a lawyer just to have a clear-cut understanding of how things work if you have questions, because legal jargon can be very confusing at times. Yes, it's very, very important to understand the differences in that and how that affects you tax-wise pre-COVID, because that really screws you up. If you're being 1099'd, but your employer that's 1099ing you provides all of the supplies necessary and the resources and like everything for you to do your job, when it comes to the end of the year, you have literally no write-offs, and then you end up paying all of like the taxes and like the money that is normally taken out of your paycheck when you're W-2 that your employer is responsible for handling because you are their employee. You then become responsible for that. So it is really a loophole that a lot of employers are able to have been trying to use, I guess you could say, so that they don't have to be responsible for that financially, and it screws over the employee that's being 1099'd. Of course, depending on your situation, your industry, the state that you live in, disclaimer, seek legal counsel. Because I don't know your situation, can't speak in great detail on what you should do, but I do know that you should investigate it, and I do know that you should be asking questions, and I do know that you should be arming yourself with knowledge. On the flip side of that, because of these problems, which I would like to make a bigger video for, a lot of people have realized that they could not get unemployment when the shit hit the fan and nobody was allowed to work. This was because you are being treated, if you're being treated like an employee, but you're being 1099'd, you're not able to get unemployment benefits. When the whole pandemic situation kicked in more, obviously the PUA benefits for self-employed people and 1099 individuals came out, and it was, obviously remedied for the most part, but there are still a lot of people that literally could not get access to it for like months. So imagine, like, you as a beauty professional have been screwed over because you're not making money, and now you can't pay your bills because you're not getting any unemployment, because you have to wait because you've been misclassified. Lots of people are realizing that, if they didn't already realize that to be a problem before. And my advice to you is, after seeking legal counsel, which I think is 100% necessary in cases like these, based on what the result of that legal consultation is, speak to your employer. I know it can go in a couple different ways. You might be advised to not speak to the employer and go straight to serious legal action. You might be advised to kind of write up a document, like an in writing type of presentation of, hey, I'm well aware of what's going on. I'm well aware of how illegal it appears to be. Let's remedy this. If you really want to remedy it, if you really think that there was no actual ill intention and you really find that maybe this was like a loophole mistake, maybe whoever the business owner is possibly gets really, really bad legal counsel themselves when it comes to running their business. Who knows? That's kind of up to you and whoever it is that you seek legal counsel from, but it is worth investigating. And my advice to you is if you know that there's a problem with that and you choose not to investigate it, ask questions, and stand up for yourself, I'm sorry, but no one else will. You can call Cal OSHA, you can call, I think you can file with the Better Business Bureau. Well, obviously Cal OSHA if you live in California, but there are a lot of different courses of action that you can take to rectify situations like this, because the unfortunate truth is no matter how much they seem like your friend, if that's the type of employer-employee relationship you feel that you have, and how much you might love your work environment, if you're being mistreated, it's up to you if you are choosing to let it happen, if you become aware of the fact that you're being mistreated. My advice is to put your foot down and stick up for yourself, essentially. And do your due diligence to do so, because literally nobody else is going to do it other than, you have to be your own advocate in that regard. My last two are having a surplus of product. A lot of people are realizing that they have a lot of retail and they don't know what to do with it. And a lot of people are realizing that they're worried about clients in light of COVID and how to handle things, especially if your clients are moving away. So let's touch on that really quickly. In light of COVID, depending on where you live, your services that you normally provide, and the retail that you might have at your disposal that you've already invested in prior, you might have clients who still live in your city, but they're scared to come in for a service, which is fine. If people are uncomfortable, then that's totally up to them. They can choose other alternatives, or maybe they've moved away and you're worried about clientele. But both of those things together, you're also worried about all of this product that you have sitting on your shelves. Here is my advice. When it comes to selling product, so that product isn't going to waste, but also allowing your clients to feel really well taken care of, create kits for them and utilize the ability to have an online store. And if you don't have an online store because you still don't have a website, get on the website situation first, and then hop on the online store situation. Utilizing the internet right now is a great tool. Social media is a great tool because you can coincide like your online store, your website, all the things. So that's pretty much it in terms of like retail. Like really, like there's nothing else to it. My advice to you is sell it, make kits, find creative ways to get your resources, your product into your clients' hands. So even though maybe they're far away, maybe they've moved, or maybe they're too nervous to come in for a service, they can still have that connection to you, that experience with you. You can still take care of them. But it's also in a way that like it's in their comfort zone. But also when it comes to just worried about your clientele in general, like the sad truth is that before COVID, people move away, people get sick, people move to a different side of town, for heaven's sakes. Like if you live in LA and you live far on the west side in Santa Monica, you don't want to drive to Pasadena for a service if you could get the service done in Culver City. You know what I mean? So when it comes to that, especially if you're new, especially if you were trying to build your clientele before the pandemic, right now is really the best time to try to expand on that. If you don't have a Yelp page, get on it. If you don't have a website, get on it. If you don't have a Google for your business, if you don't have a Facebook page, if you aren't making like videos, reels, stories, Instagram lives, blog posts, online store, email blasts, like these are all things that are great resources for your existing clients to have, but they also draw in new clients. Don't think that it is impossible to thrive in some regard during all of this because these are uncharted waters. You still have the potential to do well and to thrive as a business and to grow as a business. But you have to be willing to utilize those tools that you have at your disposal. So at the end of the day, really getting a handle on how you market yourself and how you communicate with your existing clients, how you treat those existing clients, like I said, by utilizing the resources that you have at hand, especially if you're not able to see them in for treatments right now. That is your best bet. It keeps the connection. It helps you grow, especially if you're, like I said, if you're trying to bring in new clientele, if you're trying to kind of just get the creative juices flowing. I mean, there's really no other way to like answer the question. At least for me, in terms of advice, I think that is the best way to handle it. That's what I've done. That's what I've advised a lot of fellow beauty professionals to utilize as well. It's worked out really well for everybody. It's worked out really well for me. So I don't know. That's kind of it, really. I don't feel that I can really get more specific because obviously everybody's situation is a little bit different, but you guys get the gist of it. So I hope that this very long-winded 30-minute long video was insightful to somebody. I hope that it was useful to somebody. It was very general, I would say, and very general, I would say. Because it was so general, I would like to expand in other videos that are a little bit shorter, but detail-oriented on very specific topics in the future. This is kind of just like a jumping off point. So if you have questions, very specific questions that you'd like to ask me, whether it pertains to something that we talked about in this video today or something that we didn't even talk about in this video today, shoot me an email or comment down below. I'll leave my email, I'll leave my Instagram, I'll leave it all. and we'll talk about it. I'm down to chat and give advice as best as I can. That's all for today. I'm going to finish my coffee and do a million other things that I have to get done because it's a work from home day for me today. But it was so good to talk to you guys. I'm really glad that my dog didn't bark. And I will talk to you guys soon. Oh, hit that like button for me. That'd be really cool too. All right. Bye, guys.